Okay, so are you ready for this? Because today we are diving deep
I am so ready. Hit me.
into one of the biggest questions out there.
Okay, let's do it.
Why is there something rather than nothing?
Yeah.
You know that question that pops into your head at like 3 in the morning?
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
And suddenly
Fucks you up.
you're down this total existential rabbit hole.
Keeps philosophers up at night, too, for centuries.
Exactly. And we always like to add a little twist here, right?
Of course we do. That's where we're here.
You sent over those excerpts from Metaphysical Mysterium, and I have to say, I was intrigued right from the jump.
Oh, really? What caught your eye?
It's how it brings AI into the mix with this whole existential question. Could artificial intelligence actually hold the key to understanding why we exist?
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it?
Right. To think that we could create something in a lab that could potentially answer the question that's haunted humanity since we, crawled out of the primordial soup.
It's wild when you think about it like that.
So in true deep dive fashion, we're going to explore the way different minds have tackled this mind-boggling question, philosophers, scientists, and even the potential of AI.
It sounds like a plan.
And the best part is that this Metaphysical Mysterium thing, it's deeply thought-provoking, but also hilariously absurd at the same time.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Get ready for some serious aha moments with a side of cosmic laughter.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so let's unpack this Metaphysical Mysterium. Kicks off with a rundown of how philosophers have wrestled with the concept of nothingness for centuries.
Right, like staring into the void and trying to make sense of it?
Exactly. And they start with a heavy hitter, Martin Heidegger.
Okay, so we're not messing around.
No, we're not. So instead of just thinking about nothingness as this abstract idea out there, Heidegger was convinced that we actually feel it.
We feel nothingness.
He called it existential angst.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. It's like that feeling you get when you look up at the night sky and it hits you, the vastness of it all.
Yeah.
How small you are.
Exactly. That mix of awe and terror, right? That's the kind of existential angst that Heidegger was talking about.
And it's not just about feeling small, is it? It's more like this sudden awareness that everything, life, the universe, all of it, could just not be. And here we are.
And we're here grappling with that.
Yeah, it's like this ultimate confrontation with the unknown.
Which I guess makes us human, right?
I mean, you said it, not me.
Yeah. But then the text, it's throws us a curveball with Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz and his whole best of all possible worlds idea.
Leibniz. Now, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Right. So he essentially argued that everything, even the bad stuff, suffering, chaos, it all serves a purpose.
Okay, I'm gonna listen.
It's all part of creating the most perfect universe possible.
Interesting.
And, Voltaire, he kind of famously ripped that idea apart with Candide.
Oh, yeah, Candide, the eternal optimist.
Right. Dr. Pangloss clinging to that best of all possible worlds idea, even when everything's going wrong, it kind of exposes how absurd that whole concept is.
Right. It's like saying everything happens for a reason when you're stuck in a ditch.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, how would an AI even process that?
Process what?
Would it get the humor in Voltaire's satire? The irony of trying to explain away suffering? Would it be like, error, best world calculation inconclusive?
That is the question, isn't it?
It makes you think about whether AI could ever really truly grasp what it means to be human.
All those messy, complicated feelings.
Exactly. And speaking of different ways of understanding, our friend Metaphysical Mysterium then brings up Immanuel Kant, who took a whole other approach to nothingness.
Okay, lay it on me.
Kant was basically like, nothingness is so far beyond what we can comprehend that we can't even really think about it.
Whoa.
It's like trying to explain the color blue to someone who's been blind since birth. The concept might be there, but actually experiencing it, understanding it.
It's just not going to happen.
Exactly.
So we've got Heidegger saying we can feel nothingness. Leibniz trying to make it fit into his best possible outcome idea.
Yeah.
And Kant saying it's so beyond us we can't even imagine it.
And that, my friend, is a pretty good summary of how humans have always approached these big questions, don't you think?
It really is. We're a curious bunch, aren't we? Always trying to make sense of things, even when they seem impossible to understand.
It's like this drive that's built into us to seek, to question, to explore.
Maybe that's the first clue to why there's something rather than nothing. Because we're here to wonder about it.
Okay, that's deep. But how do we go from wondering about the void to, well, the universe as we know it? That's where Metaphysical Mysterium takes a turn from philosophy to physics.
Oh boy.
Get ready, because things are about to get explosive. So we're talking about going from nothingness to the Big Bang.
Which is quite a leap.
It is kind of perfect, though, when you think about it, something and nothing, and this big explosion that supposedly started it all.
Like the Big Bang. It's
Yeah.
the whole reason we're even having this conversation.
Exactly. It's like the ultimate origin story. But like most things in life, the closer you look, the more questions you have.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like we've got this incredibly detailed map of the universe, but we still don't know where it came from.
And that's what I find so fascinating, because instead of just throwing it hands up in the air, Metaphysics Mysterium dives into one of the most mind-bending concepts I've ever encountered, quantum fluctuations.
Quantum fluctuation. Now, those are fun.
Right. So basically imagine that even in a perfect vacuum, in what we think of as completely empty space, there are these tiny, incredibly brief bursts of energy happening all the time.
It's like the universe is constantly shimmering with potential, even in the emptiest corners. It's actually not that different from the way we talk about nothingness in philosophy. It's not really empty, it's just beyond our usual way of seeing things.
Okay, so my brain is already starting to hurt here, but stay with me. If these fluctuations are happening all the time, everywhere, could that be how something came from nothing?
Now, that is the million-dollar question. And our source material certainly seems to think so. It suggests that a sufficiently powerful quantum fluctuation under the right conditions could have been the spark that ignited the Big Bang itself.
Okay, now we're really going down the rabbit hole here. We've gone from philosophers trying to wrap their heads around nothingness to physicists talking about quantum jitters creating the entire universe.
And we're not done yet.
Not even close. So where does AI fit into all of this? We've got these incredible minds, human and hypothetical, all trying to crack the code of existence.
That is where our friend Metaphysical Mysterium gets a little meta. It asks us to imagine a supercomputer light years ahead of anything we have today, tasked with finding the meaning of life, the universe, and everything.
Is anyone else getting serious Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibes right now? Because for those who haven't read it, that's the book where the answer to the ultimate question is 42.
A perfect example of an answer that's both technically correct and utterly meaningless.
Which some might argue is the whole point. But let's play this out. Our source material suggests two possible outcomes when this AI tries to tackle the big why. One, it crunches all the data in the universe and spits out something totally nonsensical, like the meaning of life is Tuesday.
Or, and this is even more intriguing, it declares the whole question of meaning to be irrelevant. Because meaning, as we understand it, is totally subjective. It's about emotions, experiences, the stories we tell ourselves. A machine running on pure logic might look at that and be like, error, meaning not found.
And it makes you wonder, could an AI ever truly be existential if it doesn't experience life the way we do? If it doesn't feel that weight of being alive, the joy and the suffering and all the messy stuff in between?
It's the question of consciousness, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can something that only simulates understanding ever truly grasp those big existential questions?
We've got AI mastering chess, composing symphonies, even writing poetry. But pondering the void, that just seems like a whole other level.
It's the difference between processing information and truly understanding it, between spitting out an answer and feeling the weight of what that answer might mean.
Which brings us back down to earth a little bit. Because AI might not be ready to unpack the meaning of life just yet, but it's still doing some pretty mind-blowing things.
Right, like mastering chess.
Exactly. Our source material, Metaphysics Mysterium, it actually highlights that Deep Blue versus Kasparov match back in '97.
Oh yeah, that was huge. At the time, it felt like AI was really entering uncharted territory.
Right, beating a world champion chess player, like that was a big deal.
It proved that AI could strategize at an incredibly high level, outmaneuvering a human in one of the most mentally demanding games out there.
But still within the rules of the game, right?
Exactly. It's like saying, okay, this AI is a culinary genius because it can microwave popcorn perfectly every time.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Impressive, but not exactly revolutionizing the culinary world.
Right. Deep Blue is a master of chess, but only within the confines of those 64 squares.
And then there's the whole world of AI art. Now, algorithms churning out these crazy images. Sometimes they're stunning, sometimes they're just weird, but they're everywhere you look.
Which leads to a really interesting question. Is it really art if there's no artist?
If there's no intent, no emotion behind it.
Right. Can an algorithm be inspired? Can it feel the urge to create something beautiful or thought-provoking?
Metaphysics Mysterium, it even uses the example of Sophia, that robot who looks incredibly human.
And can hold conversations.
Yeah, she's been on talk shows and everything, but at the end of the day, it's still just code, right?
Exactly. It's a simulation of consciousness. But is it really the same as experiencing the world as a thinking, feeling being?
It makes you wonder if a machine will ever be able to look up at the stars and have that same sense of awe and terror that Heidegger was talking about.
Or write a symphony that captures the full range of human emotions. Joy, sorrow, love, despair.
Or even just get a joke.
Maybe that's the point. Maybe those seemingly irrational things are what make us human.
It's like that old saying, I think, therefore I am, but maybe it's more like, I feel, therefore I am.
There's a certain poetry to that. And speaking of poetry, maybe AI can write a haiku about it.
While it's working on that, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into Metaphysical Mystery.
I'm ready for a nap after all that.
Me too. But seriously, folks, what have we learned today besides the fact that the universe is a very strange and wonderful place?
And that sometimes the most human thing we can do is ask questions that don't have easy answers.
Absolutely. So thank you, dear listener, for joining us on this wild ride through philosophy, physics, and artificial intelligence. We'll see you next time for more deep dives into the unknown.